All right, boys and girls, today's science lesson is going to be reading an article about describing and measuring weather. After I'm done going over this article on describing and measuring weather, there are going to be two questions that you can try to answer on your own. And then there's going to be a follow up video that you can watch that goes more in depth into the weather instruments. And last but not least, there is a quizzes code that you can complete on your own time and submit when you are finished. I'm going to read the article to you. You can follow along. You can pause the video at any time. Here we go. Getting the idea. When you turn on the TV or listen to the radio, you often hear weather forecasts. How do weather scientists know whether it will rain tomorrow night or snow the day after? As you've probably seen, our weather patterns have changed very consistently, so being a weather forecaster is not the easiest job, and we can tell that over the years, the weather has gotten a little bit harder to predict. So let's find out the weather conditions and then some of the tools that these scientists use. Weather conditions. Weather is the condition of the atmosphere at a certain time and place. Weather scientists are called meteorologists. They use many different instruments to collect data about the conditions of the atmosphere. The data collected helps meteorologists describe the weather now and predict it for the future. Temperature. Weather scientists use a thermometer to measure temperature. It tells how hot or cold the air is. There are several kinds of thermometers. The most common one has a liquid inside a thin tube. The liquid expands as it gets warmer. It contracts as it gets cooler. As the liquid expands and contracts, it goes up and down in the tube. The changing level of the liquid shows the temperature of the air. Precipitation. Precipitation is water that falls from the sky. There are several ways to measure precipitation. A rain gauge measures the amount of rain that falls. This tool is a can or tube with an opening on top. Rain falls into the rain gauge. A scale on the side shows how much rain has collected in the can or tube. A ruler is a good tool to measure snow. Scientists stick the ruler straight down into the snow to find out how much snow has fallen. Sometimes the scientists collect falling snow in a container. Then they melt the snow and measure the water left in the container. Wind. Weather tools are used to describe two properties of wind: direction and speed. A weather vane shows wind direction. You can sometimes see weather vanes on the roofs of houses or barns. This is the complicated part, though, that I'm going to read next, so pay attention to this. The front, or the arrow that's pointing, of a weather vane points in the direction the wind is blowing from. So here's what that means. If a weather vane is pointing to the north, that means that the wind is traveling to the south. It's coming from the north. So you would say it's a north wind. That doesn't mean it's going north. A north wind is going south. The same thing applies for every other direction. Let's just say the wind or the arrow was pointing to the west. That would mean it's a west wind and it's going east. Let's get a little bit more sophisticated. If the wind is, or the arrow is pointing to the northwest, that means think of your compass. That means that the wind would be then blowing southeast, because opposite of northwest would be southeast. So it's a little confusing, but once you get the hang of it, it will make more sense. A windsock is another tool that shows wind direction. The small end of a windsock points in the direction the wind is blowing. An instrument called an anemometer measures how fast the wind blows. This tool has several arms that stick out. Each arm has a cup at its end. Wind blows into the cup and spins the anemometer. The stronger the wind, the faster the cups spin, and the greater the wind speed measured. Air pressure. Meteorologists use a barometer to measure air pressure. Air pressure is the pressure a column of air above the certain location exerts on Earth's surface. Air pressure is useful in predicting if weather will be fair or stormy. Low air pressure brings stormy weather. High air pressure brings fair weather. As I'm looking outside the window today, it's rainy and stormy, so that must mean that the air pressure is low. Cloud types. There are many types of clouds. Stratus clouds are low sheets of gray clouds that cover the sky. Sometimes stratus clouds form rain or snow. Cumulus clouds are puffy white clouds with flat bottoms. You will see them in fair weather. Did you know at any time clouds cover about one half of Earth? Cirrus clouds are the highest clouds. These thin, wispy clouds also appear in fair weather. However, they are sometimes a sign that rain is on the way. They are so cold that they are made of particles of ice instead of drops of water. As you can see the three different pictures here. Discussing questions. How are the tools that collect data on weather useful to people? That can be something that you can write down. Here are two questions. I'd like for you to read these questions and then go ahead and answer them on a piece of paper, and we'll check back with the video when you're ready. Okay, number one. Which instrument would you use to measure air pressure? Well, I know it's not a thermometer. I know it's not a windsock. So it's either a barometer or an anemometer. The answer is C, a barometer. Let's go to number two. Which statement correctly describes what the front of a weather vane points to? Well, if you remember me saying the direction from which the wind is blowing, so that would be B. Okay, at this point, you've gotten some information about weather and weather instruments. There's a video on the slides that you can click on that will go a little bit more in depth. And then last but not least, there's a quizzes with the code that you can put in. Hope you enjoy and take a look outside at the weather for today.